sometimes feel like a lot, but you don't have to do it alone. I strongly believe that we're stronger together. Here, we're going to slow down, have real talks, make sense of things together, and explore ways to intentionally grow the life you want. We're going to talk about mental and physical health, relationships, money, work, and community. Welcome to Rooted in Intention with me, Karina Gomez.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to another episode. So happy to have you here. And I guess I just want to start off really acknowledging that it's an interesting time to be living on Earth right now. And I know there's a lot of global issues from what's happening in Gaza to what's happening in Palestine and Sudan. And then there's a lot of local issues in the US as well, including the cost of living, inflation, work schedules that aren't built for our wellness, cities that we've created over the years, maybe not us directly, but us humans that really prioritize navigation of cars over human connection and have moved us into this disconnection from nature, which I don't think is very well for our well-being. And people are being dehumanized for moving countries, which is interesting because moving around the earth is something that other species do freely and naturally. And then on top of all those things, I think we're also just being further divided and siloed by technology that gives us the illusion of creating personalization. But I think it's really more of just siloed bubbles that cause more disconnection and more division on top of the political division that has already been growing for long before we were here. And I'm sharing this not to add to the load of it all, but to assure you that if you feel overwhelmed, hopeless, or unsure of what to do to create change within your life or the broader world, that makes sense. And one of the things that I've learned from just my healing journey and from over time is that we have to be able to confront the messy things in order to get to the other side. And we have to be able to feel the anger and sadness and grief that come up along with all the other emotions. And we have to be able to recognize the things that are dysfunctional in order to make room for better ways. It's a little bit like the process of cleaning your home. It might initially look messier, but it's actually just part of the process. Like you might have your piles of laundry out. You might be taking things out of drawers and cabinets and the closet in order to declutter and organize. You might be moving furniture around as you vacuum and sweep and mop, but slowly as you progress, you do start noticing that your home starts becoming cleaner and more organized. And I think that creating change for ourselves and the world around us is going to be it's going to be a very similar process. It might look a little bit messier, but it's all on the path of it getting better and creating positive change. And I also want to remind you that as much as some of these things could feel like issues that are bigger than us, there's actually a lot of things within our control. And I'm going to sound a little bit like a broken record if you've been listening to some of the other episodes, but it's that our small actions really do add up. And again, I really think that we're all interconnected and that we're part of a collective society, whether we want to embrace that or not. And because of that, that's why I believe that our actions also have a collective impact. And when we can each do something for whatever cause or issue calls to you, that each of our individual actions ends up adding up with the individual actions of all the other people, and that's how we can create change. And with that said, I also realize that we each cannot do everything because attempting to do everything is only going to lead to burnout. So, in this episode, I want to really focus on something that might feel a little bit counterintuitive, and that is to really lean into rest, joy, and play. And if these things come relatively natural to you, this might not be the episode for you. But if you have difficulty with these things, then this is the episode for you. So, I want to start off with sharing that I truly believe that these things should not be luxuries. And I think we need to challenge the belief that's so ingrained within our society that our worth is tied to how much we produce or how much we accomplish. And we need to challenge the belief that we have to be productive all the time. And these beliefs are so deeply ingrained in us and much of our society, really. And I want you to think about how is it that rest, joy, and fun can play a more central part of your life? And when they do play a more central part of your life, how would you show up differently for your family and friends? How would you show up differently for the work that you do? Whether that's work again to pursue your dreams or to create social change. And in some way, I feel like those things are actually intertwined. Because I think if you're pursuing your dreams and you are this light and delight that goes around the world, I can only see you having a positive influence around others and then causing positive ripple effects from there. But, anyways, I can bet you that the version of you that is restored and has a filled cup takes actions much differently than the version of you that's depleted. And I want to share a piece of my personal journey with rest and joy because I haven't always fully embraced them as much as I do now. And last year, I actually left my full time job because I was completely burnt out. And I really needed to step away to do some healing and to rest. And even though I had left my work, I still found it very hard to lean into rest and joy. My mind kept having thoughts about the things that I should be doing. I was feeling guilty for resting. And I know for me and maybe a lot of other Latinos out there maybe grew up hearing like ponte a hacer algo when you were trying to rest, when you were sitting around. And that really ended up influencing my discomfort with slowing down and not doing anything. And on top of that, I was also living off of my savings. So I felt a lot of pressure to figure out what my next steps were ASAP and just feeling really rushed in the process, like I was wasting my time. And because of that, rest felt very uncomfortable. And because of that, leaning into rest and just enjoying life felt a little bit foreign. And if you really take a step back and think about the messages that we've picked up within our society as well, that really wouldn't be surprising because we've been taught that our value is our productivity. And for some, at a deep subconscious level, you may have even absorbed the belief that to do things is to be safe because you saw your parents hustle for survival. So to actually slow down and rest actually feels very uncomfortable. And unlearning all of that actually takes time and intentionality. So, if you have also struggled into leaning into rest and joy, let me share a few things that helps me. So, hopefully, it also helps you as well. And number one is I would say to notice. Notice when you are trying to rest or do something just for funsies, How is it that you're feeling? Are you feeling fidgety? Are you feeling uneasy? And notice what your thoughts are saying. What are the messages from your inner dialogue? Is it telling you that you should be doing something productive, that you should be doing the laundry, creating that business plan, applying to that new job, picking up that new shift? Is it telling you that you're wasting your time by playing games? Is it telling you that you're not a kid anymore to be painting, to be trying new hobbies? Is your inner dialogue telling you to grow up? That rest is for the weak? That you'll rest when you die? And I just really want to emphasize that as much as your brain is offering you these thoughts, it doesn't mean that they're true. And when your dialogue is offering a lot of these types of thoughts, that's what's actually creating that unsafety in your body that doesn't allow you to fully feel comfortable with doing nothing. And that's because your body is registering that there is a problem that needs fixing. And I shared a video on the Instagram page that talks about the connection of the subconscious mind and beliefs that we picked up at a young age and over time, and how those beliefs create thoughts and feelings and actions. And so, a lot of these thoughts that are going on in your inner dialogue are creating those feelings of uneasiness when you're trying to rest and when you're trying to do things just for the fun of them, which is then causing the actions of actually doing not restful things. And there are a few ways to go about changing your inner dialogue, but that would be a whole lot more than one podcast episode. So for now, what I'm going to suggest is that you start with just noticing your inner dialogue and to really begin questioning your thoughts. And the second thing I want you to consider is that if you're particularly feeling anxious or fidgety, is that you might just have some excess energy that needs to move out of your body. And if it's helpful, maybe even visualize that the excess energy is moving out of your body as you move. And that movement can be anything from walking, lifting weights, yoga, swimming, dancing, stretching, whatever it is that calls to you, just try it out. And then the third thing I want you to consider is to just experiment with joy. And I think this is particularly helpful if maybe you had to grow up relatively fast as a kid. And that's because maybe you didn't have the chance to explore things that actually brought you joy. So allow yourself to rediscover that childlike joy or experiment and create some ways for you that feel fun and lighthearted. Maybe try some old hobbies or new hobbies that sound like fun, and don't take it too seriously. Don't think of it as something that you have to be good at, just something that you can do just for the sake of doing it because you enjoy it. And that's all that matters. And every time that you practice doing these things, you're actually already rewriting the old belief system that says that you have to earn your worth, that you have to be productive in order to rest and to do fun things in life. And another thing that I want to share with you all is if you are resting and you don't feel recharged, it might be that you're not getting the right type of rest that you need. Um, Dr. Sandra Dalton Smith, I think that's how you say her name. She has a book called Sacred Rest, as well as a TED Talk that actually talk about 7 types of rest that we actually need to feel restored. And what's interesting is that these actually parallel the 7 areas of our life. So feel free to jot these down and maybe even create a menu for yourself that you can pick up and choose from depending on what you're needing at any particular time. And the 7 different types of rest include physical rest, which is anything that really allows you to attend to your body. And that could mean slowing down if you've been very active, or actually adding in some movement if you haven't been moving too much throughout the day. The second type of rest is mental rest. And I really think about this as anything that allows you to turn off your brain, stepping away from anything that requires you to problem solve. And that could look like disconnecting from work. The third type is emotional rest. And this is anything that involves processing and expressing your feelings. And it could be things like talking to a friend, doing therapy, journaling. I know that sounds very simple, but it can actually be very powerful because if you spend a lot of time suppressing your feelings, that actually takes up quite a bit of energy. I don't know if you guys ever had this experience as a kid when you wanted to cry, you needed to cry, but you were actually trying to hold it in and you were kind of doing that like, and just if you could think back to that, you were actually expending energy trying to push down those emotions. And that still happens in real life. If you're having feelings that you aren't allowing your body to fully process, you're essentially suppressing them and you're spending energy not processing those things. So, very important to be tapping into your emotional health and practicing emotional rest. And the fourth type is social rest. So, really feeling balanced with your social interactions, not having too much, not too little, but having the Goldilocks amount, just the right amount. And that could be things like calling a friend, hanging out with people in person, playing video games online with other people, anything that allows you to feel connected to other human beings or disconnected if maybe you've been having too much social interaction. And the fifth type is sensory rest. And this is taking a break from overstimulating things. And at least for me, this is one that I pay a lot of attention to because I find that I get very overstimulated with things like lights and a lot of noise and having too many people around, that type of thing. And having sensory rest can include things like having less screen time, dimming lights, listening to calming music, maybe turning off the radio while you're driving. And the sixth kind is creative rest. And this is one where I think it's about incorporating more of that joy and play and doing activities that inspire you and allow you to enter into this state of flow. And I personally like doing crafty things, making art while listening to calming music on my headphones. And I find that the headphones actually drown out a lot of the environmental noise. So I personally find it very calming. And I don't know if you guys have seen the movie Soul from Disney, but the main character has these moments where he is creating music and he is just really vibing with life. And it's like he's in his own world. And that's what I think about when tapping into this creative rest. And the seventh thing is spiritual rest. And this is about really connecting to things that bring more meaning into your life and allow you to connect with something that feels bigger than yourself. And it could be things like praying, it could be things like getting involved in some community events, spending some time in nature. I would say it's really anything that it helps you realize how actually small we are in comparison to the world and the galaxy and the universe, and just kind of leaves you in that space of like honest. So, those are the different types of rest for you to consider. And yeah, I would encourage you to bring these into your daily life. And I will say to really try to avoid thinking about these as other things to add to your to do list and really think of these as a practice that you do for yourself out of love, love for yourself. And I would encourage you to start small. And this could include little things like having breakfast without your phone, going out for a walk and taking in some fresh air, saying no to an extra shift, turning the TV off during dinner, and really saving your meal or even asking for help on something just to get some things off of your plate. And I really want to emphasize that you don't have to earn your rest and joy, but you do have to give yourself permission to lean into them. And if you don't give yourself permission yet, I grant you permission right now. Okay? Because we get to rest and play and create joy for ourselves simply because we matter. And it's how we stay grounded, it's how we keep going, and it's how we create lasting change. And if you need more convincing or want to do some learning or really unlearning, I'd recommend reading a book by Trisha Hersey, which is called Rest as Resistance. And I really appreciate how she shares that grind culture is not this pie in the sky thing, but how it's through our actions that we buy into it and we become that grind culture. And she also shares quite a bit about her own journey and just reflections on rest as resistance because of how it challenges the current status quo of productivity. It's a great read, highly recommend. And the final thing that I will leave you with is really an invitation to ask yourself, what is one small act of rest or joy that you can do for yourself today? So that's really all I have for this episode. And if you got one thing out of it, I invite you to leave a review so the podcast can reach more people or share with a friend who might need to hear this as well. Okay, until next time, bye.
Thank you for joining me for another episode of Rooted in Intention. Until next time, and remember to keep showing up for the life, relationships, and community you want. Now go, grow the life you want